Hello and welcome everybody to this short webinar on the RoSPA Level 2 International Award in Defensive Driving. What we'll be covering in this webinar is some feedback which we've received on the new qualification. So you'll probably all be aware that we launched the new Level 2 qualification a few months ago. And as part of our due diligence and part of our quality assurance processes, we always review our qualifications. So recently we asked a market researcher to conduct some independent research for us with some centres on how they've been experiencing the delivery. And we had some feedback on a few things, but the things that really were highlighted to us was how appropriate the qualification is in response to your regional needs, the assessment methods that are used for the qualification, how long the training takes, and the trainer ratios. So we will be talking about that during this morning, but also there will be an opportunity for you all to ask some questions. You can either pop them in the chat or we can have a live Q&A session at the end, but you'll be able to answer any questions, ask any questions that you have, and we'll be able to answer those for you. So the background to the actual qualification. It came about because the pre-existing Defensive Driving Award had been in place for several years and it was due for a review. So with that in mind, and with the fact that things change and move on, we wanted to create a qualification that would set and maintain a consistent and recognisable global standard for driver training. In order to do that, it was important for us that we talked to our centres who were delivering the qualification all around the world. So we engaged a stakeholder group, and that stakeholder engagement took place just over a year ago now, between March and April last year. And we had stakeholders from Oman, from Qatar, from Dubai, from Kazakhstan and Tunisia. So it was a really broad range of stakeholders, and they were able to look at the specification and give feedback on whether they felt it was appropriate, whether it would work for them, whether it would work in their region, and to make any suggestions for changes that they had. With all of that in mind, we launched the new qualification with first certifications available from June last year. And we also put in place the withdrawal process for the previous qualifications, which we wrote to everybody about in July of last year. That process was scheduled to take 3 to 6 months because obviously we understood that many of you already had training courses in progress and that you needed time to look at the new specification and that you needed time to plan how your existing training was going to fit around this new qualification, or whether you needed to develop new material. So we wanted to give you that time. So it was really important to us that, using that stakeholder feedback as our guide, we designed a flexible qualification that was as straightforward as possible, but while also meeting our obligation to our regulator here in the UK. But most importantly, it was important to us that we met the needs of you, our centres, as well as our vision, our purpose and our mission, which, as you can see from the screen, is all about preventing accidents that kill, injure and maim people and setting standards across the world. We wanted a qualification that would help your drivers to develop the knowledge of the causes of work-related driving incidents and to prepare them with the skills so that it would reduce their likelihood of being involved in a traffic accident. So we did some training. We did a webinar originally when we launched the new version of the Level 2. And we first of all produced a specification and some centre assessment guidance, which were designed to give centres a framework in which they could deliver their training and give them some guidelines on how to build their training courses. We really wanted it to be adaptable to the needs of your regions, your organisations, your industries and your drivers. So we really wanted this framework to be something for you to work within. The other really important thing for us, of course, is that we do understand the regional differences in training. We understand that, different cultures, different languages, all of these potentially present barriers to delivering a consistent standard of qualification. So we wanted the qualification to be adaptable and flexible enough that your trainers were free to deliver the qualification in whichever language was most appropriate for them and for your drivers. We do understand that not everything that works here in the UK will necessarily work in your region. So we wanted to leave that open for you and flexible for you to develop what you needed within the specification. And what we were also really hoping that this would let you do is to take your existing materials and to just adapt them or change them a little, amend them so that they fitted within the new qualification structure. And we felt that if you had been delivering the previous version of the qualification, much of that would be able to be transferred into the new qualification. So that was our hope. So a little bit more about what those documents are. The specification is, if you like, it's the guidelines, it's the rules, it's the framework, whatever you want to think about it. But it lays out what needs to be achieved by your drivers. So the knowledge and the skills that they need to achieve. It shows an official recognition of your driver's skills and knowledge and competence. And the qualification is awarded after your drivers have met all of the standards within the qualification, which is why this specification is really important, because it describes in detail what they need to do in order to be able to pass. The other document that we produce, I'm sorry, I've jumped ahead of myself. So I mentioned at the beginning there were a number of points that were raised to us about the new qualification, and I think what became clear was that maybe there has been some miscommunication or some misunderstanding around what is needed in order to meet the qualification requirements. So the first thing that we were told was that the learning hours were too long, and somewhere along the way it had become confused as to how long the qualification lasted. And if you read the specification, it says really clearly that this is an 8-hour or a 1-day qualification. So it is possible to deliver it within 8 hours. But what we understand is that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And in some cases, it may be that total qualification time would need to be extended. And that's absolutely fine. We were happy. So long as the minimum 8 hours is met, it's really up to each organisation, each centre, to decide whether they deliver it over 1 day, 2 days. That's one of the flexible points of this qualification. We really wanted you to be able to make that decision for yourselves, but 8 hours is the minimum amount of hours. The other thing that was mentioned to us was that the trainer to participant ratios had increased. And again, we were really clear in the specification that we made recommendations, but these are not fixed. Again, this has to work for you and your organisation. So we make recommendations. We firmly believe that for theory learning to be effective, it needs to be in a group of no more than 12 at a time. But if you want to deliver it in smaller groups, that is absolutely fine. That is your decision to make. This is just a recommendation that 12 is the maximum for theory content to be effective. And as far as the practical sessions, the in-vehicle sessions are concerned, again, we recommend no more than 3 participants to 1 trainer. But if you want to do it on a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2, that is absolutely up to you. We just recommend that, again, three learners in a vehicle is the most effective way for them to be able to have some physical practice and to also learn by peer observation, and for that learning to embed. More than that, and it gets very difficult for everybody to benefit from the learning. The other, I guess this is probably the biggest bit of feedback we've had, is around the assessments. And again, we are concerned that maybe the communication or the understanding about the assessments has become confused. So I wanted to just make it really clear today. When we had the stakeholder feedback, the proposal was that we would do the assessments verbally. And the reason for doing that was that, again, with language difficulties and literacy difficulties, we thought it would be more manageable for centres to simply just question the drivers about what they needed to know, rather than ask them to write it down. However, when the feedback from the stakeholders came back, some of them said that drivers would find it a bit intimidating to be asked questions verbally, and that they may prefer to write the answers down. So again, with the view of being as flexible as possible, we wrote into the specification that assessments can be done verbally by questions and answers, or they can be written down. And again, it is entirely up to centres how they want to deliver those assessments. We don't prescribe how that happens at all. So this misunderstanding that there are lots and lots of written answers needed it is simply not the case, and we hope that reassures you. The Centre Assessment Guidance is the other document that I mentioned earlier, and this is designed as a support document for you. It's only meant for centres and not to be shared with any learners, any drivers, but it is to help guide the centre and guide the trainers and guide the assessors as to how to deliver the assessments in particular. It also, if you go beyond the table, which has the assessments in it, gives you quite comprehensive guidance on what needs to be included to make sure that your participants are able to meet the learning outcomes. And I appreciate that some of the assessments in the specification may not be absolutely relevant for your drivers. And I'll take one case in point. The assessment criterion around NCAP ratings, for example. You can spend as much or as little time on that element of the course as is relevant to your business. And it may be that you say to us, well, none of our drivers drive vehicles that are NCAP rated. I don't know. But if that's the case, your participants only need to know what an NCAP rating is, and that can be covered really quickly. It doesn't need to be covered in masses and masses of depth. So again, adaptable. Just use what you need for your organisation and only deal with the bits that don't apply in enough detail that your participants understand. Because what we have to bear in mind is that your drivers won't only be driving your company vehicles. There may be times in their personal lives or in other jobs in the future where they are driving those types of vehicles. So we just feel it's important that they've got that grounding knowledge. So hopefully with the centre assessment guidance and the specification, it should be really clear about what's required. And I would say to you that if you're looking through this and you're not sure, then ask us the question, because we are here to help and support you. So next, I want to just show you what those two documents look like side by side. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see what the learning outcomes and assessment criteria look like within the specification. So it gives the learning outcome, it gives the assessment number, it describes what they need to do, and it tells you how they need to be assessed. And then next to it is the exact same learning outcome, assessment criteria, and there's just that added box with standards and guidance for assessment added to it. So it just gives a little bit more detail on what's expected. And if you decide that you are going to use verbal questions and answers for assessing your participants, then the simplest way that we think to do this is literally to take the assessment criteria. So if we take 1.1 from the specification on the left of the screen, the assessment criteria says explain local driving laws and procedures. So we would suggest that when you assess that, you simply ask the driver in front of you, can you explain to me the local driving laws for this region, for this country, for this area? And then you are using the words from the specification to clearly ask the question that needs to be answered. So I hope that helps a little bit and makes some sense. Next, I think it's worth just mentioning while we're talking about delivery of the qualification, the documents that come alongside it. And I keep going back to this being as simple and as easy for you to manage as possible. There are some documents that we need. So we know that you'll complete a booking form when you go onto the QMS to put the course, to register the course. But we need you as well, because of identity, we need you to complete a learner register. And basically that needs to just confirm to us that you have seen some signed photo evidence that the person standing in front of you is who is being booked onto the course. And that you're comfortable they are who they say they are, that you've seen their driving license or you've seen their passport, and that we ask you and them to sign that as well, just for traceability. We ask you to complete one learning outcome assessment record for each participant, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. If you choose to complete a marking sheet for their practical drive, then please upload that as well. We do like to see one if possible, because it just confirms to us what was observed, what they had to do during what they actually achieved during their practical. And we will ask for a percentage of the assessments, the verbal assessments. So if for example you are assessing in a different language from English, we will ask you to record the answers, and then we will let you know that we want them to be translated for us to do quality assurance on. So again, that's something which, if that's difficult for you to manage, please talk to us and we will work with you to find a solution to that. But what I would say to you is that some people, there seems to be a misunderstanding that you need to be verbally assessing your drivers while they are driving. And that is absolutely not the case. We understand that it's a distraction, it's dangerous, it may be illegal in the area that you're delivering training. So I just want to really emphasize that if you are conducting a theory session at the beginning of the training, that if you have verbal assessments to record, that you do that in the classroom while they are stationary and not in the vehicle. So we just wanted to make that really, really clear. And also we ask that you have an IQA in place, an internal quality assurer in place, and that you also submit. So we would expect them to quality assure all of the assessments that your trainers have made, and we would ask them just to complete a form, a register, a document that says they have checked the assessment decisions that have been made and that they are happy with those decisions. And all of those will be uploaded for moderation onto our qualification management system. Again, if you're not sure, then please ask. We are here to help. I'm sure you will have seen this. So this is an example of a learner register. You don't need to use this exact document, but something like this is what we need from you. This is the learning outcome assessment record, and this is the most important record of all for us. So on the front page, 3 boxes need to be filled in by the participant, the driver, the trainer, and the assessor. So we need their name, we need their signature, and we need their date on the front of that. On the second and third pages that you can see there are a number of boxes which again just mirror those learning outcomes and assessment criteria which we saw from the specification earlier. And what we need from you or your assessors, your trainers, is confirmation that your drivers have passed each of those assessments. And you do that really simply. Once you are satisfied that they have met the standard from the specification, you just put a P if they've passed the assessment, or an R, a refer, if they haven't passed the assessment. It's not a pass or fail in the first instance. If somebody needs to redo an assessment, we can make arrangements for that. So if they don't quite make the standard, we just need to know about it. If you are confident that they have passed the assessment, they've met the standard in the specification, then you need do no more than put P in that column, which is called pass or refer. If you have put R in the column, then in the trainer comments, just put 1 or 2 bullet points that explains why you've given that refer mark. So that's the learning outcome assessment record which we need completed. And I was going to show you a IQA record, but it's fine. It's so long as we have some document from you that says that your internal quality assessor has checked it, we are absolutely fine with that. So just to recap then, assessments that are testing knowledge are assessed by questions and answers. So again, verbal questions and answers, or written if you prefer, audio recordings. If you are providing those, we need to know at the beginning of the recording, please, who they are and what the date is. Something else which is important is that each person must be assessed on their own. So it's not possible to ask the entire group whether they can answer a question and they give a group answer, because every person in that group needs to be able to demonstrate that they understand. So we just need those drivers to be asked those assessment questions where nobody else can overhear them. And the reason for that is that if one person answers in a certain way, other people who are listening may simply answer in the same way, and that doesn't prove that they understand. It just proves that they've heard what somebody else has said. So that's why we ask for it to be done that way. With practical demonstrations, it makes sense. Everybody is expected to be able to give a practical demonstration that shows that they can meet the assessment criteria. They can drive safely, they can follow procedures, they can meet the rules of the roads. We don't ask for any video to take place in vehicle, but we do ask that when they are doing the vehicle checks while the vehicle is stationary and they are moving around outside the vehicle or inside the vehicle before it starts to move, that additional evidence is helpful for us in the shape of video recording. And again, with the practical assessments, we would expect that they can do the drive on their own without any guidance or input from the assessor or from anybody else in the vehicle. So they must be able to demonstrate they can drive the vehicle safely and following the rules and meeting standards from the qualification. It's perfectly fine if you have more than one person in the vehicle while someone's doing their practical assessment. We understand that makes sense from a manageability point of view. But again, there must be no help or guidance from anybody in the vehicle whilst they're conducting that assessment. So I hope that makes sense. As always, if you're not clear on how to make that happen, then please speak to us. And of course, the benefit of this qualification is that when your drivers pass the course, they get a RoSPA certificate. And this certificate will have our logo on it. It will have your centre logo on it. And it will just show that they have been judged as being competent from RoSPA, who are a globally recognised name in road safety. And if anybody wants to check the veracity of the certificate, they can do it at any time using the link on the certificate. What we can do for some centres, because the certification process can take a little while, so we aim to turn around. What happens, as I'm sure you know, is that when you have delivered your course, you submit your documents for moderation, and then we here at RoSPA do an external moderation of that, of quality assurance. And that can take up to 12 working days. So we do understand that in the meantime, your drivers might need to present that information or proof that they've passed. And it may be that where a centre is able to demonstrate that they can consistently deliver the qualification to a standard, it may be that we can talk about moving a centre to direct claim status, which means that you wouldn't have to wait for us to moderate every course. We would just call in a percentage of courses for moderation. Again, more information on that is available, but it very much depends on you being able to produce a record of good standards consistently. But that's something maybe to aim for. We've had some changes to personnel in the last few months. Some of these you may be aware of and some you may not. So the support that you have is always in the form of our qualification management system, which it's self-service. You can make your own bookings, you can send your documents for moderation, you can view policies, you can view handbooks, you can ask for help, all of those things. We have a dedicated RoSPA quality assurer. Some of you may in the past have dealt with Ray Parr, but I'm happy to say that although Ray has moved on from RoSPA now, he's been replaced by Grant Hughes. Many of you have already met Grant, and Grant is really happy to support you in terms of the qualification management system, delivery of the qualification, and if he can't help, then he will refer it probably to me. So we can definitely help you with that. You know that you get regular visit and support meetings with Grant, so those are in place. But if you need help in between time, then please flag it. Don't wait. If it's a 6-month wait for your next meeting, please don't wait. If you feel that you need more training or qualification on the qualification or the assessments, let us know. We have been able recently to organise some group training sessions where we invite a number of centres along. So that's something which we could possibly put in place for the future if you feel that you need it. You're obviously welcome to contact us with any feedback, questions or requests at any time. If we don't know what's going on, we can't make changes, and we are due in the next few months to review this qualification. So we will be coming out again in the form of stakeholder feedback to ask you for your experience of delivering the qualification. And if we need to make amendments to it, then that's something that we can look at. And I think the final support, although probably it's your frontline support, is we have introduced a new role to the business. So when Oliver, who again you may have spoken to in the past, moved on, we introduced a new role, which is Relationships Manager. And I'm pleased to say that our new Relationships Manager is on the call today. And if you've got questions for him, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them afterwards. But Yeshaya is our Relationships Manager. He will be managing more of the day-to-day relationship with you. So hopefully the amount of contact will improve, and it will just give you another channel through which to ask questions and raise any concerns. I will just pop on the screen contact details. So EQA, as I mentioned, is Grant. The best way to contact Grant is using the email address on the screen. And the reason that we ask you for this is that if Grant is on annual leave or is not able to answer your email, this inbox is monitored by the whole team, so we will be able to get back to you more quickly. And Yeshaya, our new Relationships Manager, you can see his email address on the screen as well. So that's what you would use to get in touch with him. And that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. Obviously, we have the chat function open, and we are also available to answer any other questions. Claudia, I'm going to hand back to you to manage that process, if that's all right.
Thank you very much. Any questions from anybody, we will happily answer now. At the moment, it doesn't look like we have any questions, but is there any additional information that either Shaya, Grant, or Melissa, you guys would like to pop in to the conversation before we finish today?
Nothing from me. Just wanted to say that we're here to support. So if anybody on the call needs support, do reach out. Don't leave.
You've gone on to mute, Shire.
Just wanted to say, for the centres on the call, just to reach out if you do need support. We're happy to help, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So do reach out to us.
Thank you very much. Bam, I can see that you've got your hand raised. If you could pop that into the Q&A section if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those. Amazing. We've got a question here from Bam. Can the assessment be done in multiple choice?
So the reason that we have not been able to do multiple choice is that this is quite difficult to manage. To be effective, multiple choice papers need to be rotated. So it's not sufficient to be able to just issue one paper over and over again. And the reason for that is, in a similar way as it's difficult to assess people individually in a group, if the questions get out, if people are sharing information, again, it undervalues the qualification, because we can't be certain that everybody is answering because they know the answer or because the answers have been shared. So we've always said no to multiple choice questions for this new version of the qualification. But the good news, I think, is following feedback and also following a transformation that we're undergoing within RoSPA, we are putting in a new learning management system. And we hope that we will be able to create a situation where we can generate multiple papers which can be rotated. We're not entirely sure of exactly how that process will work yet. As I say, we're literally in the final stages of choosing a new learning management system. So can I say, we hope to have it available in the future, but as the qualification stands at the moment, we need the participants to be able to answer the questions to show that they understand the theory. So I think it's a case of watch this space, and we will address it as soon as we're able to. Anything else?
Yes. Can you confirm that there's no mandatory recorded video while driving at practical assessment? Is it enough to record pre-trip inspection demonstration? Just to confirm.
Yeah, I can confirm both of those. There is no requirement to video in a moving vehicle, but video of the vehicle checks, yes, please.
That's great. At the moment, so is there any available video that can be used for NCAP and other relevant videos for safety features available at the moment?
So if you look at the centre assessment guidance, where it goes into more detail on the the pages towards the end, there should be a link in there to the global NCAP website. So that should be able to help you.
Amazing. At the moment, I don't see any questions, any other questions popping into our Q&A section. So I will give it another minute. If we have no other questions come in, we will end the webinar here today. Possibly one more. Can we use e-learning for theory sessions, including theory questions?
If you have a learning management system that can support that, yes. I would just say to you, if you could submit the questions to us beforehand, just so we can make sure that they're fit for purpose, then yes, we are more than happy for the theory session to be delivered online via e-learning.
Amazing. Any other final questions? Firaz, I can see that you've got your hand up. If you could just pop it into the Q&A. Is the certificate learner the same level as the trainer certificate?
No. So the certificate for the learner is a level 2. So the trainer would need to be a level 3 or equivalent. We understand that level 3 isn't necessarily available in all regions, but we will always check a trainer's CV and experience to make sure that they have the relevant experience and competence to deliver. So no, it's two different ones.
Amazing. I believe that is all that has come in as of now. Amazing. So if there are no further questions, I would just like to thank everybody here on the call for their time, and Penny for your presentation. Penny has shared all the information in terms of getting in touch with the team, and I will hand over to either Grant, Shire or Melissa if they have anything else to add before we finish today's webinar.
I've got nothing to add. Thank you. Grant?
No, I just to say, like your Shire just mentioned, if you do have any issues whatsoever, please feel free to email in the team, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Different centres have different needs for help, so we adapt all the help based on what you require. So just keep in touch and just keep us updated with any questions if you're going down the e-learning route.
So we're
here to help and support you.
We've just had 2 extra questions come in as we were talking. As it goes. The one question is, could you confirm that we cannot use multiple choice questionnaire on our written assessment? I think, Penny, from what you said, that is a no to the multiple choice question on theory.
It's no at the moment, but we are looking to introduce that in the future.
Amazing. Another question is just, is it possible to use the certificate validative link that goes directly to rospa.com, not rosquals.com, as reflected on the certificate?
So the link is the link. Melissa, I don't know whether you want to add anything else about how that link works and why it's where it is.
No, I think what we need to do is look at that link. Are you saying there's problems with the link? Are people having problems validating certificates?
I think we will ask them to maybe email you guys directly if they have issues with the link, just so that you guys can kind of sort that. They are saying yes. So yeah, if you could please email our qualifications team, and they'll get back to you as soon as possible. And then just final question is, essay questions for our learners must be used. So at the moment, that is a yes.
I'm sorry, could you just say that again, Claudia? Sorry.
Essay questions for our learners must be used.
Only if you need them to. We don't need essay questions. No, we're happy with verbal. But if you need to do essay questions for your purposes, that's entirely up to you.
Okay, great. I think this is actually now that we have no more questions. But as soon as I say that, another one does come in. So it just says that they will provide more information about the link and the problems via email. So perfect. In that case, once again, thank you everybody so much for attending. The emails have been shown on the presentation, and there will be a recording of this webinar shared post webinar. If you do have any questions, please get in touch with our staff, and thank you so much for today's attendance.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.